Welcome to this first alphabet wheel. Let's start off with a riddle, shall we? What if I told you that the word we'll talk about now laid the foundation for the science of matter? Okay, one last clue. Its ultimate goal was to turn lead into gold. Yes, you got it. Alchemy it is. And we could compare it to the dementia-stricken, if not totally buried, ancestor of chemistry. But let's dive in, shall we? Well, I've found several hypotheses, at least 5, about alchemy's possible origins. I chose to select only 3, the 3 that are most often studied. What language historians are positive about is that the word was introduced in Europe via the Arabic language. But we'll get back to that. The first time alchemy is recorded in a text in Europe seems to date back to the 13th century in France. It was in the follow-up to The Romance of the Rose by Jean de Meung. Before that, it was only found in Latin books. In English, its first recorded use dates back to Piers Ploman, so late 14th century. Here are some spelling variations. Obviously, in England at the time, there were only copyists, no print, as well as no central state and more variations in pronunciation from one place to another. So you can guess that there were no such things as spelling standards at the time. In a nutshell, there were less rules, hence the different ways to spell alchemy. But I can't help but think that the English seems to have kept this K sound, alchemy, just like chemistry, whereas in French, it turned into alchimie and chimie. Okay, now, let's turn the page and keep on exploring the roots for this word. Have you paid attention to what comes right before this K sound? Maybe you've recognized al, not Pacino of course, but the definite article for Arabic, translating as the. We can guess this article's trace in many words in English, some of them displayed on this card. It's not always obvious, but that's also what makes etymology so fun. Looking for subtle hints. However, even in Arabic, the word is often considered as a word with foreign roots. Let's go back to even more remote times. According to several dictionary entries, alchimia originally meant the philosopher's stone, before it went on to mean alchemy. Now to our first hypothesis. Alchimia sprung from a Greek word. Indeed, chimia means mix, alloy, or fusion. And why Greek? Because we know that Arabs and Greeks worked extensively together in Egypt, which is one of the birthplaces of alchemy. By the way, alembic is another alchemy-related term, believed to be an Arabic word borrowed from ancient Greeks. Our second lead goes to the Hebrew word shemesh. It means sun, as in the rising sun. It is supposed to have inspired the nickname of the father of alchemy. If this Chimes, the first alchemist, owed his name to the sun, it is certainly to offer a divine origin for alchemy. It would be God who would have inspired humans to experiment on matter, the sun representing God. And to our third candidate now. I couldn't find how it's pronounced. I'm sure you've guessed that it was an Egyptian word, given the hieroglyphs. The word meant black, and it would have been a reference to the blackness of the rich Nile Valley soil, whereas the red desert land was barren. With time, the adjective gave its name to Egypt, the Black Land. That origin would make alchemy the Egyptian art. In any case, it's the Greek candidate that's more often backed by scholars. Okay, now, before reaching our conclusion, let's recap a little bit. The word alchemy leaped from one language to another. In Europe, it settled first in France, then in England in the 14th century. Finally, language historians really have a hard time pinning down its definite roots. What strikes me with alchemy is the parallel we can draw between its secrecy as a discipline and the fact that its roots are obscured by the heavy veil of time. Now, as a final treat, I cooked up a cloud of words, what I like to call a lexical galaxy or a galexicon. Since I didn't have much room for this galexicon, I picked up my favorite words only. But I can't help but wonder, what other words would you have selected? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. Oh, and by the way, feel free to subscribe and see you soon for the next letter.